again is Jeffrey Davis, and we've been talking to entrepreneurs all day, and our next entrepreneur is Greg Erman of EmpiraMed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're the CEO. Welcome, Greg. Can you tell us about EmpiraMed?
Sure. What we do is three things. First of all, we have a rules-based software platform that automates what's called patient-reported outcome studies, mostly for large pharmaceutical companies. And because we completely automate how the studies are done and how the patients engage with the system, they typically are done for about half the price and a third of the time that it typically takes to do one of these studies. The second component of what we do is we've designed a patient engagement system that is designed to capture what's called the real-world patient experience. So when these clinical trials get done or when you see literature about studies, they're very artificially constrained. Patients who have lots of comorbidities typically, lots of other diseases, for example, if you have diabetes and kidney disease, the kidney disease will try to be ruled out of the study so they can just focus on what really is causing the improvement in the therapy. So as a result, the studies that you read about don't reflect the, quote, real world. So we do studies that capture real-world patient experience. What happens to patients who have lots of different comorbidities, who have peripheral vascular disease, and who have chronic kidney disease, who have diabetes? How do those patients respond to the drugs? It's very different.
Now, these reports are for the doctors?
Well,
You said insurance companies earlier.
Well, we capture the data, and then the data can be used by a variety of stakeholders. They're mostly used by the industry, by the pharmaceutical companies and the medical device industry, to either explain to the physicians how these drugs help the patients in the real world so that they can make better prescription decisions, or for the payers so they can decide how best to reimburse the drugs, which ones will have the best impact on work productivity, on quality of life, on what's called activities of daily living, on mobility, and all the things that matter to patients. Payers care a lot about making sure that the patients can get back to work and stay out of the hospital. So if you could show that in the real world, they're out of the hospital, the cost of health care is reduced, and the patients can work and be productive, you're going to get better reimbursement. The third thing that the company does is we have a very novel incentive program that's designed to boost the compliance of patients doing these studies. So when you're dealing with real-world studies, you're dealing with patients who have to voluntarily opt in and provide information on a voluntary basis. There's no new experimental therapy to test to save your life. It's drugs that's already approved that they can already get. So you have to provide a large amount of incentives to these patients to participate. Typically, when you do these studies, the sponsors only see about 25% month-to-month compliance rate. Only about 25% of the surveys get completed or the diary entries get completed. We see 75%. And it's mostly due to this robust incentive system that we have that's designed to really engage the patient and get them to come back day in and day out. And it's a rewards program, but it's a rewards program that's designed to incent data reporting, not health behavior change. And that's what makes it unique.
Interesting. What's the evolution of how you got into this business?
Well, about 3.5 years ago, I decided I wanted to start a healthcare IT company. And I've started 6 companies and been CEO of 6 companies, raised a lot of venture capital, and I've sold a bunch of companies. So this is not my first rodeo. And each time I start a company, I like to start a company in an area I know absolutely nothing about. That just makes it more intellectually stimulating and fun and challenging. So in this particular case, I've started a bunch of software companies, and I started a bunch of implantable medical device companies. This time I decided to combine forces and start what's called a healthcare IT company.